Well, here we go then. Probably going to be part 3 of this video now. What I did, I've had to use an Allen bolt because I did originally... Where's it gone? That's the one I want. I originally had this bolt I found in my little jar. I didn't have to go and get one in the end. I thought I was going to have to, but I didn't. I found a bolt in my jar. M7 was impossible, couldn't find an M7, so I drilled it out slightly and tapped it as M8, and I've got loads of M8 bolts. But the only trouble, I didn't realise, I put them all in, and I started doing this one up, and the washer was too big. It was hitting against the casing and it wouldn't let me do the bolt up. So I was a bit of a dilemma there. I couldn't find any bolts like this. I did find one without a washer, that one, but you can't get a socket in the gap. You put the socket on the end of the bolt, but then there's no gap for the, you can't do it up because there's no room for the socket. And then I come across this Allen bolt, and that's very handy, obviously, because you ain't got to put nothing around the edge. It goes in the middle, and that's done up nicely now. And all of these are all done up. The new gasket's in there, so fingers crossed that's going to seal up. I did find out, there's that bit of weld up there in the corner on the right hand side there. I reckon what's happened is, I reckon that bolt's flung out, hit that, cracked that, because I just noticed if you look on the outside there, there's a hole, and you can see where the weld has just started to spit through where they've welded it up. So, and the fact that that's not the original bolt, I reckon that bolt's flung out, cracked that, bounced around in there, and that's what's caused that piece of cracking up there where that weld is. There's no other obvious damage in here apart from that cracked tooth, so I don't know what else it might have done. They might have replaced all this gearing for all I know. The last people that had it, that that done the rebuild on it. But anyway, so this is all together now. Now, a little bit of advice: if you're doing anything that's got to seal, anything really, it's good practice just to bolt anything up in this manner. Do it diagonally. So, for example, when I had done this up, I put all the bolts in, done them hand tight, so they were just touching. Then I nipped that one. Then I came down and nipped that one. Then I went over and nipped that one. Then I went up and nipped that one. Then I went over and nipped that one. Then I went over there and nipped up that one. And I kept doing it in that pattern, diagonally across, until they were all nice and tight. And then once they're all nice and tight, you can just go yep, 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 and yep. You know they're all tight. So there we go. So there we go. I'm going to put the clutch back in now. I'm going to put everything back on, put it all back together, put the coolant back in, and I think I've got some gearbox oil. I hope I've got some gearbox oil, because I want to see if it's going to leak, obviously. I want to put oil in it. So, yeah, it's coming together anyway. Oh yeah, of course. And then all that battering on this side of this clutch basket, that all makes perfect sense then, doesn't it? I don't know, put what you reckon. I reckon it's that bolt. That's the one that come off and flung around and caused that damage. That's what it was. That's what I reckon anyway. And I know some of you are going to comment, "You ain't soaked your clutch pads in oil for 24 hours. Well, I don't care. They've been in there long enough. I'm sure they're plenty soaked. Clutch all back in. Everything's bolted up and tightened up. The water pump's back on. I forgot to sort out that bolt. It meant to be another one there, but it weren't leaking before, so I didn't want it now. Use the old gasket. It's not the end of the world if that leaks. I ain't got to take nothing off. All I've got to do is undo that and put a new gasket on. So if that leaks, I'll fix that. I'm worrying more about this leaking at the moment. So yeah, put this back on. Got to put the cover back on. Set the clutch up again so the clutch is working how I want it to work, and then try and find some more to put in it. Well, it's the next day. In fact, it's the afternoon of the next day. Quite late in the afternoon. Well, not late in the afternoon, probably mid-afternoon. Yeah, 10 to 3. So this has had all night and all morning to leak. Should have put a bit of white paper on the floor, but I didn't. But that is completely dry. There's no leakage there whatsoever. I'm trying to bend down because I've got bad leg. I don't think that's leaking. At least it's not leaking. I know it's a bit moist under here. It'd be because of just the way that it was, but it doesn't appear to be leaking on my new gasket, does it? So I'd call that success. Obviously, I know some of you are going to say it, and it is true. It depends on what it's like when it gets hot, because when it gets hot, it'll expand. You know, the oil will be thinner, the gasket will be hot, and everything will expand. It might leak then, who knows. But for now, it's not leaking. That's good enough for me. So, yeah, sweet, success. Lovely.